It's relating to the.
Or there's something that you sent me on WhatsApp, okay?
Yes.
Also, you've got a specific question there.
Yes.
Oh, okay. No problem. So let me open the WhatsApp to download the document and then we can just. All right.
Okay.
All right. I'm just waiting for my WhatsApp to open so that I can download that document. But even while we wait for it, here's the thing. With the asset disposal, right? With an asset disposal account, let me do this on the next page. So what I'm going to be explaining to you there, it's about the asset disposal. Okay. Now, how does this thing work? It's very simple and straightforward. So with an asset disposal account, it's a ledger. There's a okay. You can actually open up a ledger account like this. Okay, so where you have something like this, which is a ledger account with the debit and the credit side. Okay.
Yes.
Now, on the debit side of an asset disposal account, you always put the cost price of the asset that you are selling. So you're putting the cost price, but you're putting the name of the asset that you are selling. So let's say if it's a motor vehicle, you would have said the vehicle. All right. So let me put exactly the way you're supposed to record it. Is it fine?
Yes.
So if it's a vehicle, let's assume you sold a vehicle in 2024 in the month of March 31st. So you put here vehicle. And let's say it was for 150,000. So you write 150,000 rands. I'm going to put some things, some notes in red here. So the vehicle that you are writing down over here, the vehicle you are putting there, you're putting the value of the vehicle at its cost price. Is it making sense, Taban?
Yes.
So this is the vehicle value at cost price. Now, when you now sell, obviously, so what about the selling price and all that stuff? Okay, so what you put on the credit side, number one. So obviously, we put the dates.
Accumulated depreciation.
Yeah, the total
I only know
accumulated
that one.
depreciation. Ne? That one you know it, ne?
Yeah, that's the one I know.
All right, no problem. Don't worry, I'll explain it to you. So you put the accumulated depreciation, all of it in its like the whole depreciation or the total depreciation of the asset up to the date when it is sold. Are we together? So this
Yes.
accumulated depreciation you are seeing, it's all the depreciation that has been been factored into account with regards to that asset or with regards to that vehicle. So maybe let's assume it was 50,000 rands. All right, then you put it like that. The next thing you put, if you sold the vehicle for cash, ne? Meaning to say you received the payment in cash to your account, you put an account code bank over here. Okay, maybe on the 31st of March as well. So you put bank. Now, sometimes you need to understand you don't sell for cash. Sometimes you might be promised to be paid later. All right. So if it's not bank, I mean, if it's not for cash, sometimes you would be promised to be paid later. Does it make sense?
Yes.
So if you are paid to be paid later, that's what account would that affect?
I don't know.
All right. Normally it's gonna be for cash, okay? You normally sell for cash, or if you don't sell, I mean if you don't receive cash, you might have a trade in. Are we together?
Okay.
Yeah. So a trade in, it's in a case whereby instead of you selling the car, all right, you just trade in the car so that you can buy another one. You can get scenarios like that. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you've come across. We're going to look at one. Don't worry, in the paper that you sent me, we're going to look at one. But for now, I'm laying this foundation so you understand how the asset disposal work. Now, Tawang, let's assume that the amount you have received here is 120,000. Okay? Are we together?
Yes.
Right. Now, question that comes to your mind should be, where do I put the profit, or where do I put a loss if it is a loss? So this is where you need to understand me well. With the asset disposal, if the credit side is bigger than the debit side, it means there is a profit on sale of a vehicle. So I repeat again, if your credit side it's bigger than your debit side, like in this case, if you look at the total of the credit side, it's going to give you how much?
170,000.
It's going to give you 170,000. And if you compare that total to the total for the debit side, which side can you say is bigger?
The credit side.
It's obviously the credit side, right? With 170,000 rands. So in this case, we have to put something here on the debit side so that these sides can balance for us to get the same total also on the debit side of 170,000. But the question is, what are we recognizing on the debit side? It means there's a profit on sale. Are we together?
So if it's a loss, what is happening?
No problem. I'll show it to you just now. So in this case, that 20,000 rands is the profit. Does it make sense?
Yes.
All right. You asked me a question to say, if it is a loss, what do we do? Can I show you the case where there's a loss on the other side?
Yes.
I'm going to redraw the account again. So asset disposal. So this time around, I'm showing you an example where there's a loss. Ne?
Yes.
Okay. Debit side, credit side. Let's assume this time around you sold a machine. Ne? 2024. Let's just use the month of Jan, somewhere on the... So now if you're closing your books, obviously it happens at the end of the month. So let's say you sold a machinery. You put the name of the asset there, machine. And maybe you sold the machine for 100,000 rands. Are we together, young men?
Yes.
And then on the other side, what are you going to put?
Accumulated depreciation.
Accumulated depreciation. That's the first thing you're going to put. Let's assume maybe the accumulated depreciation on this asset was 30,000. Are we together?
Yes.
And then on the 31st somewhere, you received money for selling this asset. So you received cash. And let's assume you only received something like 60,000 rands. Ne?
Yes.
All right. So now, if you balance if you compare the two sides, which side is bigger here?
The debit side.
The debit side. So what you need to know is that whenever the debit side is bigger than the credit side in an asset disposal account, you need to recognize a loss on sale.
Okay.
On the credit side. Does it make sense?
Yes.
Right. 100,000, obviously, there, 100,000. And then for it to balance, the difference is how much?
10,000.
10,000. So let's summarize now. So with the asset disposal, if there is a loss, okay, on the sale of the asset, how do we know it? We know if ever the debit side of the asset disposal is bigger than the credit side. So if that is the case, it means we have a loss. It means we have a loss
On sale.
on sale of the asset, which has to be put on the credit side of your asset disposal account. With the profit, if you open an asset disposal account, how do you know if there's a profit? You know if there's a profit if your credit side is bigger than the total of what you have on the debit side. So if that is the case, you have to recognize a profit on sale, which will be put on the debit side of an asset disposal account. So far, so good?
Yes.
Good. Now, all right, I'm gonna open your document, the one you have sent to me, so that we can do a practical question. Is it fine?
Yes.
Right. Okay, just give me one moment to open it.
So, oh, I have a question, by the way.
Yes. Please go ahead.
On the credit side of the asset disposal,
Mm-hmm.
there's a term where they say we must write the instead of bank or trading, there's creditors control, and I confused.
Not creditors control. Yeah. Now, you see the examples I was giving you. Oh, no. I'm
Yes.
the wrong screen. Sorry. You see the examples I was showing you. There were examples where an asset was sold for cash. Are we together?
Yes.
All of them. So where the assets are sold for cash and there is a profit that is being made. And then I'll also show you scenarios where an asset, also shown you a scenario where an asset is sold for cash, but resulting in a
Loss.
loss on sale. All right. I'm going to show you examples where it's not sold for cash and there's a profit or a loss. So in this case, there was a profit on sale. Now let's deal with the scenario whereby the asset is not sold for cash, but let's say you are going to receive the money later. Is it fine?
Yes.
Now, how do you do that? So asset disposal. Okay. So here on the debit side, that's your credit side. So the same drill still applies. So here on the debit side, you always put the name of the asset that is being sold and you put it at cost price. I'm talking about this side. So let's say this time around, we are dealing with an equipment which was sold and it was not sold for cash, but we sold it on credit to a customer and the person is going to pay us later. So let's assume the value of this vehicle was 95,000, I mean, of this equipment was 95,000 rands. Yeah?
Yes.
That's the value of the equipment. And then on the other side, 20, okay. What are you going to have? You're going to have accumulated depreciation. All right. It will still be there. Let's assume it's 15K like that. Now, let's assume you were only paid part of the payment for cash and part of the other payment is going to be paid later. Is it fine?
Yes.
So let's assume that is the case. So notice what I'm explaining to you. I'm explaining to you a case whereby you received a portion of the payment where you received a portion of the payment in cash and then another portion maybe it's going to be paid later. Ne? So in other words, it's a credit. All right. Are we together so far?
Yes.
So if it was, so the portion that was maybe received in cash, what are you going to do? You're just going to write the bank as usual. And let's assume maybe you got 50,000 rands. And then the other difference, it was to be paid later. So that portion which is not in cash, when you recognize it over here, it can be written as trade and other receivables. Are we together, young men?
Yes.
Right. So let's assume maybe that part it's 5,000. Ne? Let's assume it's or maybe 15,000. Let's put it as 15,000. Now, I want to ask you a question. If you compare the two sides, which side is bigger here? Credit side or the debit side?
The debit side.
Are you sure? Let's add the credit side. There's 15K plus 15K, which is 30. Then plus the 50,000. That gives you how much? 80,000, right?
Yes.
So the bigger side is the debit side. So do we have a profit or do we have a loss?
A loss.
There's a loss this time, right? So this side, you totalize it since it is already the bigger side, and the same value would be written on the other side. So what is the difference? The difference is 10,000 rands, and that 10,000 rands is the loss on sale. Does it make sense, buddy?
Yes.
Yeah. So what was I explaining? I was explaining a scenario where a payment was received in cash and another part of it was paid as a credit, but later on. You understand?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's how you do it. So now we're going to look at a practical example. Is it fine?
Yes.
So you should tell me which part I should be focusing on. Okay, just one moment. Because I'm trying to open the question paper. Okay, I've opened it. Can you see it?
No.
Let me see. Oh, which means I need to change sharing of my screen. Bam, there we go. Yeah, this is an old one, eh?
Yeah, I'm practicing.
That's smart. I like that. I like that. So tell me, where is the issue there?
The general ledgers for equipment on tangible assets.
Question 3.
Yes.
All right, no problem. Let's have a look at question 3 so that we can see what is going on there. So in question 3, they asked you to, just a sec, buddy, I want to quickly get something so that I can, all right, cool, I got it. Right. So for question 3, they ask you to prepare, okay, on this one, because it's a PDF, I'm going to work with this part, right? In fact, so they asked you to prepare the following accounts where in the general ledger of Samba traders. So what are the two ledger accounts? One is for the equipment account and the other one is for the asset disposal account, okay? No problem. So for the asset disposal, I've already answered you, right?
Yes.
All right. But
But can you do it just in case?
yeah, no problem. We'll do it together. So you're provided with the following information, which was extracted from records of Samba traders. The accounting period ends when? 28 February 2016. Provides the missing amounts. Okay, that's a different thing, right? That's theory aspects. Anyway, let's see what do we have here. It's all right. Are you looking at the paper? Because I wanted to go to the. Do you have an answer book for this? Just an answer.
No.
You were not given that.
Yes. I just had to draw, but I didn't draw
Oh,
them. I draw them on other past papers.
but this is the answer book.
Yeah, but I do not have it. I just got it from a website.
Oh, because you see, this is how your answer book look like.
Yes.
Why I'm saying, do you have an answer book? Is because your test normally would probably have an answer book like this, where you need to, like, you see something like this. This is what I was asking for. You see this?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's fine. Let me try to see if I can convert this thing to Word document so that we can. Okay, just a second. So that we can discuss it while I'm typing. Is it fine?
Yes.
Recording. All right. So let's proceed with question 3. So according to the information you've been given, the tangible asset note, which is showing you land and buildings, vehicles, and equipment. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, great. Now the question is, how do you know if there's an asset that has been sold? That's the first question. Because remember, what we are dealing with in question 3.1, it has to do with asset disposal, meaning to say it has to do with an asset that has been sold by the business. So there are two ways. It's either you can go to the tangible asset note and you look for the line item under movements, which is called the disposals at carrying value. Do you see it?
Yes.
If you look under buildings, it's 0, meaning to say they did not sell any land and buildings. If you look under vehicles, it's also 0, meaning to say they never sold any vehicles. But if I go to equipment, I'm seeing disposals at carrying value. The value is 28,431, meaning to say there is a case here where this particular asset in particular equipment has been sold by the business, right? So now that's one way of identifying if there is an asset disposal or if there's an asset that has been sold by the business. Another way is by going through additional information which they've given to you, where they say the following relates to equipment, right? So what is happening to the equipment? There was an equipment sold on credit. Do you see this one? It was sold on credit. So it means that's where we're going to have something like what I was showing you earlier on the whiteboard. That's where you're going to have this trade and other receivables instead of bank. All right. It will be trade and other receivables. Right. Let's go back. Then depreciation is calculated at 10% per annum according to the diminishing balance method. All of the equipment was purchased on the 1st of March in 2012. Equipment was purchased for cash. All right, no problem. Then there's nothing else in the additional information which they've given you that has to do with the equipment. So what do we do, my brother? So we now focus on the column equipment in the tangible assets so that we can take the relevant information there. Is it okay, young man?
Yes.
Good. So now if I go to under equipment, we are told that there's an equipment which was sold on credit for how much? For 25,000 rand. So this is the value. So if I'm to draw an, okay, let's start with the equipment as a thing, the equipment note itself first. So we're going to say equipment. All right, equipment. We know already that an equipment, it's an asset. On the debit side, we expect it to increase. On the credit side, we expect to see a decrease. Now, okay, are you looking at the question also on your side? Because I want to make sure that we have you, when I'm writing things on the whiteboard, you can also follow.
Okay, I'm good.
All right, good. So
I'm
now,
there now.
no problem. So notice here, we are dealing with the what? With the period ending 28 Feb 2016. So what we're going to do on our dates here, we can just have 2016 there. In fact, yeah, 2016, February. All right, on the 1st, there's a balance brought down. Okay, how much is the balance brought down? How do we know which value is the balance brought down? Meaning the opening balance of your equipment. So this part, my young man, in your tangible asset note, it has to do with opening balances. Are we together, buddy?
Yes.
These are opening balances. Anything up from cost, accumulated, and carrying value. These are your opening balances. And then movement section. You see this part where it says movements? It has to do with everything that took place during the year. So we're talking about everything that transpired from the beginning of the year up to the end of the year. And then everything you have here from carrying value, cost, and accumulated, these are your closing balances at the end of the year. Are we together, young men? Very important.
Yes.
Right. Now we go back to our whiteboard. So we've got an opening balance on the 1st of February in 2016. Question is, what value is that? So the value is according to your tangible note. Here is the amount. It's 470,000. So you show the value at cost. Are we together?
Yes.
470K. So we go back. And then over here, we're going to write 470,000 rand like that. All right. Then we go back to our information. Notice we bought an asset sometime during the course of the year. Remember, what did I say about movements? It has to do with everything which took place during the course of the current year, which is ending 28 February 2016. So there's additions here of equipment to the value of 86,000. So we bought equipment. So maybe now with this one, you're going to put it as 28 Feb. So you can check. All right, let's see how did they buy the equipment if they have given us. So, okay, equipment was sold, okay, for that value. They did not tell us. Oh, yes, here it is. Equipment was purchased for cash. Did you see that?
Yes.
So which equipment was purchased for cash? It is this one here, which is part of the additions, right? Even including the one that was sold. So what are we going to do? We're going to write bank here because we bought for cash. Are we together, buddy? So this affects PJ because you spend money to buy this asset. 86,000 rands. Are we together?
Yes.
And then on the credit side, you're going to have 2016, Feb, 28. So you're going to, okay, there's a disposal, all right? So here you're going to write asset disposal. Asset disposal. Are we together? What is the cost price of that asset that we sold? It's very simple to tell. Do you know how? I want you to look at this. You had 470,000 at the beginning, right? You bought new assets for 86,000. Then there's another asset that was sold, but now we have got a closing balance of costs, of equipment to the value of 516. So how are you going to know which assets you sold?
Is it the cost at the beginning plus additions, minus
Asset disposal.
asset disposals?
Exactly. So it's like this. The calculation is going to look like this. So you had 470K, then you bought for 86K, then you sold, and I'll call that X. We don't know how much. That's what we want to find out, right? And then at the end of the year, we have got a closing balance of how much for the equipment? 516. Can you see it?
Yes.
Right. So that's what we are sitting with as the balance for the cost. It's 516,000. Now I want to show you something. This one, the 470K, ne? It was the opening
balance.
We are together, ne?
Yes.
This 86K, it's what? Additions.
Addition.
Right? And this X, which we don't know how much it is, but we want to find out, it is what? The disposal. Are we together?
Yes.
to give us
Disposal
what?
of what?
Yeah? Of the equipment.
Disposals at, no, uncle, usually says disposals at carrying value or disposals at
Yeah. Normally,
uh,
it's
depreciation.
disposal. But you see, on this case, we don't want it at carrying value because we are dealing with the cost price. We're interested in the cost price. So what you're going to show here, buddy, what you're going to show or reflect in the equipment note, in the equipment account, it is not at carrying values. Everything that you have here is at cost, not at carrying values. Are we together? So
Yes.
the only time the asset disposal is at carrying value, it will be when you go to the asset disposal account. Are we together? So which is
Yes.
that different account. But for now, what we are dealing with the cost prices
Okay.
of equipment. So we've got 470, which is the opening balance. We bought new assets for 86. Then we sold another asset here at cost, but of course, it's carrying amount, but we want to know the cost price of this asset. That's what we are trying to establish. But now we are sitting with a closing balance here of equipment at the end of the year of 516, right? So can we do the calculation now? So if I want to calculate the value X, what do? I make X the subject of the formula. Does it make sense?
Yes.
So if I add 470 plus, okay, so if it means then I have to take everything to the other side. So it will be X equals to 516,000 minus 470K minus 86K. Why is it that I'm putting minuses on these things? It's because when you take the positive to the other side, it will become negative. Does it make sense?
Yes.
So how much do you
The
get here?
answer I got is negative 40,000, and then you divide by -1 and you get 40,000.
Exactly. So then obviously the answer is supposed to be 40K. So the 40K, what does it represent? It represents this.
Disposal, asset disposal.
Does it make sense?
Yes.
Then you get your balance at the end of the year, which is balance carried down. Does it make sense? That balance carried
Okay.
down, because if you take 470, this balance carried down, by the way, do you know how much it's supposed to be? 516,000. That's what you're supposed to have there. Okay. Then obviously, when you add the two together, how much do you get? 470 plus 86. Sorry.
Pardon, you said?
No, it's not supposed to be that. Let me just delete this. Just delete this. Yeah, obviously, this balance, it's supposed to be, yeah. Sorry, can I delete this for now? I just want to correct something quickly. Can I do it on the next session? Because I need to show you something about this. Let's restart this whole thing all over again, but on the next video, because this one it's about to cut now.